So it seems like the UK is creating a pre-crime murder prediction tool to identify people most likely to kill. Like you have the same premise of the movie Minority Report, which, by the way, is one of my favorite movies ever. It's something that I can watch over and over again, in which you have this pre-crime unit, when you have these precogs, or there's three individuals that have psychic abilities, and they can see into the future and they can predict who is going to commit a crime. So when they predict a crime, then the pre-crime goes and prevents the crime from happening. So it seems that the UK, for all that science fiction that I love, I think that this is nuts that they are considering doing something regarding to this. And this has a lot to do with psychology, of course, our personality, our character, and maybe we could talk about body language as well, because sometimes we have talked about how can you predict people's behavior. And I'm a big fan of predicting people's behavior, although predicting crimes is a big word. It's a big thing, but the UK government is developing a pre-crime murder prediction program, which it hopes can use personal data of those known to the authorities to identify the people most likely to become killers. And you know that the UK is famous for being so unbiased and fair about justice, right? Researchers have alleged to be using algorithms to analyze the information of thousands of people, including victims of crime, as they try to identify those at greatest risk of committing serious violent offenses. Now, this is a problem. They're using the publicly available data. Maybe I can imagine all the data that they have regarding, all these people who have committed crimes and all these people who have been victims of a crime. What were the circumstances? What happened to them? What kind of family? What kind of neighborhood? What kind of everything? Is that I'm pretty sure that the first, hurdle that they're going to face is that they're going to find some things about, maybe some neighborhoods, some characteristics of people. They're going to find out that if uncomfortable data, because statistics for some people can be really uncomfortable. We already know that, for example, the bell curve, when we talk about intelligence, when intelligence is genetic, you cannot say that. You cannot say that. That has never been proven. If you claim that intelligence is not genetic, of course there are many components, but there's a huge genetic component. Well, we're gonna have a problem here. So imagine in that flawed approach to just statistics. And intelligence is something that we can get wrong, okay, no problem. But what if you get somebody's intentions wrong? Okay, you're going to be a killer. You're going to kill somebody in the future, so we are going to lock you up just because you have the possibility of being a killer in the future. The scheme was originally called the Homicide Prediction Project, but its name has been changed to Sharing Data to Improve Risk Assessment. I think the previous name was more catchy. Homicide Prediction Project. I think that they should work on their marketing. The Ministry of Justice hopes the project will help boost public safety, but campaigners have called it chilling and dystopian. The existence of the project was discovered by the pressure group Statewatch, and some of its workings uncovered through documents obtained by Freedom of Information requests. Statewatch says, and this is important, data from people not convicted of any criminal offense will be used as part of the project, including personal information about self-harm and details relating to domestic abuse. Officials strongly deny this, insisting only data about people with at least one criminal conviction has been used. Okay, let's talk about something that I always resort back to. The word pseudoscience. When we talk, for example, when we talk about Cesare Lombroso, that he measured the cranium of people. So with the shape of the head you could come up with if they were criminals. Okay, hold on to that. We already know that all that was disproven to some extent, because you could never actually predict if somebody was going to commit a crime. I remember that I was working at some point when I was making this very detailed videos. I should be working on them once again at some point. I was remembering of this scientist who found out. It's essentially a scientist who found out. He was investigating about doing research about psychopaths and how the psychopathic brain has signals, has the different, let's say, developments in which you can identify when a brain belongs to somebody with psychopathic tendencies. And the funny part is that among the samples there was these images of his own brain, but everything was anonymous. And he discovered for himself that he had these psychopathic markers, not tendencies. He had never killed anybody. He never thought of killing anybody. He liked to play Monopoly with people. So if you like Monopoly, maybe that is a good sign that you are a psychopath. That is, in principle, that is a huge red flag, at least for me. Playing Monopoly and wanting to win at Monopoly, that you're a psychopath, point blank. And it was interesting to see. You might have a physical manifestation that tells, okay, you can be a psychopath. But there's, of course, the fact that you can control any impulses, because that's why we have our prefrontal cortex. This is the thing that this kind of stuff is not taken into consideration. You could have, okay, maybe you say, if you belong to this neighborhood, if you have this eye color, I don't know, if you have, this accent, perhaps, if you wear this way, you know that I'm making things up to not get into trouble, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know what they are going to see. And they're going to find out that the statistics are uncomfortable. And the moment that the statistics are uncomfortable, they're going to say, no, you cannot do this. But imagine for a moment that they actually went with statistics. You think it would be fair for people who have, like this scientist, okay, I could have a marker that says I am a psychopath, but I've never hurt anybody or killed anybody or thought about hurting anybody. You think it would be fair if you are instantly profiled because you live in a neighborhood, or you have a dysfunctional family, or if you have practiced self-harm at some point? You think it would be fair to be labeled as you're a potential killer or murderer or criminal? I think that would be thinking that people cannot control themselves. Oh, you cannot control yourself. You will be a criminal at some point. I think that is deeply unfair, unjust, and that will never. Well, I knock on wood. I hope that never goes forward, because that will mean that we don't have a free will. We cannot make our own choices. We cannot choose to be good citizens. We cannot change and be redeemed, because there are the people who have been criminals. There are people who have behaved badly. All of us, I think that every single one of us have regretted actions in the past that hurt other people. I am the first one to claim that in many dimensions, in many ways. And at some point you say, hey, this is not the way to act. You are hurting people this way. You change your behavior. You change the way that you act. You change the way you act people, and the fact that the redeeming arcs exists, the fact that our behavior can evolve, renders all this unusable. Because even if you have committed crimes in the past, you should be able to redeem yourself, of course, if you are, first of all, very important, punished accordingly to the crime that you committed. You have shown that you have reformed yourself, and well, you can live, let's say, an harmonious life in the community. It can happen. It can 100% happen. Of course, there are other scenarios in which people do it over and over again, especially when there's this catch and release, that authorities catch these criminals and they are not punished the way that they should be punished, and they release them again and they commit crimes again, and they do this 2, 3, 4, 10 times, and they basically say, oh, I'm invincible, nothing's going to happen to me. But if the punishment is escalated every time a criminal commits a crime again, then you essentially, one, will send the message to them. If you, every time you commit a crime again, the punishment will be harsher. And that sends the signal to other people to, hey, if you commit this crime, this is what is going to happen to you. So again, I like science fiction. I like the premise. I always love the premise of Minority Report. It's a great story by Philip K. Dick, one of my favorite science fiction authors. But the problem is that the problem is when you stumble upon the fact that even if you could confirm, because there are other ways that we can confirm if somebody is has psychopathic tendencies, because tendencies is the real word here. Is, for example, if you show people, let's see, gruesome pictures, there's gonna be a certain reactions in normal people with normal brains, non-psychopathic brains. There's gonna be a reaction in the pupils. Okay, the pupils are gonna react in some way. But in psychopaths, the reaction is gonna be different. So in that regard, we have two ways. We have two ways of telling if somebody is a psychopath. But even if we study somebody's eyes, let's say that we have scanners that scan people's eyes, like in Minority Report in that movie, and we can scan people's heads and find that their brain, oh, he has a psychopathic brain. Even in that scenario, it is mandatory that we give people the benefit of the doubt. Now, let's take a step back from science fiction and let's talk about what is real life. And what do I mean by real life? I mean by real life that if you are born in a certain neighborhood, if you are born into a certain faith, or with a certain skin color, or with in a certain community that has, let's say, statistics that don't favor you, that maybe, oh, you're just part of this, you're just part of the, you were born into this family. I always say, by the way, in terms of family, that you should never judge anybody from their family or by their family, not for good nor for bad. Oh, this family is great, this person must be great. No, this family is so rotten, this man who is part of this family must be rotten as well. No, that has always been unfair, and I think it's both ways can be dangerous. I think you're leaving out the part that makes us human. So this is leaving the sci-fi part away. Even if you think you can judge somebody by some characteristics, maybe by their face. Oh, I don't trust this guy by their face. Sometimes you can have a hunch. Your intuition could say, hey, I don't trust this guy or this woman. Or they say something that was, I don't know, from watching so many of Jesus' videos, maybe your way of looking at stuff, looking at people has improved, and you can spot contradictions. That is another thing, because you are watching and you are analyzing behavior that is happening. Not behavior that could be happening, not hypothetical behavior. No, you are analyzing behavior that is actually happening. That is a completely different thing. So if you learn how to spot those signals, maybe you can, okay, maybe I could have some reservations with this person. Maybe I could be more, trust this person more. That would be a different thing. But everything that, especially when you have the UK with their very obvious two-tier system, thinking about doing something like this, I can only imagine that this is going to be like this. How to say this? I made a meme about this. I know that this is going to ultimately be there's. I'm gonna show you a meme that I did. This is gonna be ultimately this. Something like this. This is gonna be the system. This is how they're going to spot the possible criminals. The whites button. That's it. That would not be fair. But again, think about that. Would you like to be profiled or, entering this algorithm, and the algorithm say that you might be a criminal? You think that would be fair? I would like to know, what do you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Bottle Language Guy. Much love and bliss.